Your brain is either getting sharper or getting weaker every single day. There is no quiet middle ground, no comfortable plateau where your mind just stays frozen in time. The terrifying reality is that most of us are actively, quietly destroying our focus, memory, and discipline from the inside out without even realizing it. Think about the invisible damage. You sit down at your desk with absolute clarity, yet find yourself staring blankly at your screen 5 minutes later, your phone already in your hand, with no conscious memory of how it got there. Your mind has been hijacked. I used to believe this chronic mental exhaustion and restless anxiety was just a personal failure of my willpower. But as I buried myself in peer-reviewed neuroscience, I stumbled upon a dark truth: our minds are not breaking by accident, they are being systematically re-engineered by the modern world to crave chaos. Welcome to Growth Mindset, a space where we dissect the reality of human behavior. I am not an expert lecturing you from a distance. I am a fellow traveler who had to uncover this exact brain repair blueprint because my own focus was slipping away. If you want to support our mission to reclaim human focus in an age of distraction, please hit that subscribe button right now. It gives us the strength to keep building these deep dive studies for you. The core of everything we are exploring today relies on neuroplasticity, the biological fact that your brain literally carves its physical structure around your daily patterns. If your day consists of endless scrolling, rapid stimulation, and fragmented focus, your brain adapts to distraction, making depth impossible. But if you intentionally choose focus, structured movement, and emotional distance, your mind adapts to absolute power. Let us uncover the hidden patterns that will fix your brain. One of the most profound realizations I had during my own mental recovery was that my focus was not a fixed talent, but a living muscle that I had systematically allowed to atrophy. Look around at our collective reality today. We have been conditioned to accept a life of continuous partial attention, where jumping between a work document, a text message, and a browser tab is considered normal behavior. But from a neurological perspective, this is absolute self-sabotage. Every single time your attention is yanked away from a task, your brain pays what scientists call a switching cost. Your focus does not transition cleanly. A heavy, toxic layer of attention residue remains stuck to the previous activity, meaning your prefrontal cortex is constantly running heavy background programs that drain your cognitive battery. This structural friction explains why you can sit at a desk for 8 hours, accomplish practically nothing of substance, and still finish the day feeling completely broken, irritable, and mentally depleted. Your brain ran hot on attention residue all day without a single moment of deep processing. To rebuild this wasted muscle, I had to stop looking for complex productivity hacks and implement a strict, unyielding 20-minute protocol. You pick one single task, put your phone completely out of sight, disable every notification, and commit to absolute stillness. When you first try this, the psychological resistance is violent. Within minutes, an overwhelming restlessness will crawl up your spine, screaming at you to check an email, look at the news, or find any excuse to escape the vacuum of quiet focus. This discomfort is the literal withdrawal symptom of a mind addicted to quick dopamine hits. But that exact moment of friction is where the real brain training occurs. When you choose to breathe through that restless urge and gently drag your wandering attention back to the page, you are forcing a physical realignment of your neural pathways. Practice this daily execution, and you will notice your thoughts clearing, your memory retaining depth, and an undeniable sense of internal power returning to your life. It completely mystifies me how our culture has turned sleep deprivation into a badge of honor, a toxic proof of hard work. I watch people around me burn through hundreds of dollars on expensive energy drinks, smart drugs, and intricate biohacking routines, all while surviving on a broken 5 hours of sleep a night. They are trying to charge a high-performance computer with a frayed, short-circuiting cable and constantly wondering why their system crashes. We need to completely destroy the idea that sleep is just a lazy pause from real life. Through my own journey, I learned that sleep is not passive rest, it is intensive, non-negotiable biological maintenance for your mind. When you finally slip into deep sleep, your brain activates its glymphatic system, an internal waste clearance network that literally flushes out the toxic metabolic debris accumulated during the day. Simultaneously, your hippocampus begins organizing fragmented data, moving short-term experiences into the cerebral cortex to build permanent memories. When you chronically starve your body of this recovery window, your brain operates in an environment flooded with toxic waste. Your focus shatters, your memory drops, and your willpower completely dissolves because sleep deprivation starves the prefrontal cortex, the very seat of logical thinking and self-control. This explains why an exhausted mind breaks so easily under stress, making impulsive decisions and giving in to mindless distractions. If you want to truly sharpen your mind, protect your sleep as a sacred boundary. Lock in consistent sleep times, eliminate screens an hour before bed, and recognize that a tired brain cannot build a strong life. It can only manage survival. The sheer volume of shallow media we consume today has quietly eroded our capacity for deep, independent thought. We live in a landscape built on rapid-fire edits, bite-sized captions, and instant summaries designed to deliver cheap dopamine with absolutely no cognitive effort required on our part. Your brain is a masterpiece of efficiency. It adapts to whatever level of resistance you provide. If 90% of your mental intake is passive, pre-digested entertainment, your internal thinking patterns will inevitably become just as superficial and fragmented. You lose the ability to sit with complex concepts, analyze subtle nuances, or synthesize conflicting ideas. This realization is what led me back to reading, not as a leisure activity, but as a deliberate form of neurological resistance. When you read, your mind cannot sit back passively, your brain must actively decode text, map logical arguments, and construct complex abstract concepts in real time. To truly upgrade your mind, however, you must step away from easy material and read books that sit slightly above your current comfort zone. Force your brain to encounter intellectual friction by exploring psychology, human behavior, philosophy, or neuroscience. Even committing to just 10 pages every single day will completely rewrite your internal processor over a single year. But the real magic happens when you break the habit of mindless consumption. Pause at the end of a difficult page. Ask yourself hard questions. What is the core truth here? How does this challenge my existing worldview? How can I execute this concept tomorrow? This deliberate pause is where information transitions into wisdom, turning a passive brain into an analytical powerhouse that can cut through the noise of the modern world. For the longest time, I fell into the trap of viewing physical exercise purely as a tool for vanity. I thought moving my body was just a painful chore meant for burning calories, dropping weight, or changing my appearance in the mirror. But when I shifted my focus toward behavioral biology, I uncovered a profound truth: physical movement is actually one of the most immediate and potent forms of cognitive enhancement available to us. Our minds did not evolve while sitting paralyzed in ergonomic chairs, staring at glowing rectangles for 10 hours a day. We evolved to think, learn, and adapt while navigating a complex, dynamic physical landscape. The moment you push your body into motion, you unlock a massive chemical cascade that fundamentally upgrades your brain architecture. Cardiovascular exercise floods your neural tissue with oxygenated blood and essential nutrients, which is precisely why you experience that undeniable wave of mental clarity and creative problem-solving right after a vigorous walk or workout. More beautifully, movement serves as the primary trigger for neurogenesis, the birth of brand new brain cells within the hippocampus, the very seat of your learning and long-term memory. This process is driven by a specialized protein called BDNF, which scientists literally refer to as fertilizer for the brain because it forces new neural connections to grow and survive. Simultaneously, a consistent workout routine burns off the toxic accumulation of cortisol and chronic stress that physically shrinks your brain over time. You do not need to become a fitness influencer or endure grueling, obsessive workouts. Simple, unyielding daily consistency is the goal. Every single time you lace up your shoes and exercise despite feeling lazy or unmotivated, you are executing a direct weight training session for your self-discipline muscle, teaching your mind to act on commitments rather than fleeting emotions. The modern world is meticulously engineered to hijack your internal reward system, and most of us are completely blind to the toll it takes on our long-term potential. Every single interface, platform, and notification we encounter is optimized by behavioral designers to exploit our evolutionary drive for novelty and instant gratification. We have developed a terrifying collective habit of filling every microscopic pocket of silence with digital stimulation. We scroll while standing in lines, we watch videos while eating, and we check notifications the exact second we experience a transition between tasks. What we fail to realize is that this constant barrage of instant rewards has fundamentally altered our internal dopamine baseline. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure, it is the molecule of anticipation, drive, and goal-directed behavior. When you subject your brain to a relentless flood of cheap, hyper-stimulated inputs, your neural receptors adapt by down-regulating their sensitivity. Once your brain becomes desensitized to this extreme baseline, the normal, meaningful, and productive activities of real life suddenly start to feel excruciatingly boring and painful. Reading a book feels far too slow, studying a complex skill feels like mental torture, and working on a long-term project feels completely unbearable. This happens not because you lack genetic talent or willpower, but because your reward pathways have been completely fried by overstimulation. To reclaim your edge, you must build intentional boundaries to protect your mind. You do not need to discard all technology, but you must invite structured spaces of boredom back into your day. Force yourself to experience moments of pure silence. Walk without headphones, eat without a screen in your face, and sit with your own thoughts for 5 minutes without reaching for your phone. When you consciously reduce this excessive input, a truly sharp brain is never defined solely by high intelligence, extensive knowledge, or rapid mental processing speed. Real cognitive power is fundamentally anchored in your capacity for emotional stability. Over the years, I have watched so many brilliant, highly capable individuals completely ruin incredible career opportunities, sabotage vital relationships, and destroy their own progress. This tragedy happens not because they lack raw intellect or technical skill, but because they are completely helpless when it comes to managing their internal emotional states. They allow anger to dictate their words, fear to paralyze their choices, and temporary stress to completely cloud their logic. If you lack emotional control, your intellect becomes entirely useless the moment life gets difficult. When a high-stress situation hits, an untrained brain experiences an amygdala hijack, where your emotional threat center completely overrides your prefrontal cortex, locking you into a primitive state of panic. Building real control requires you to practice a deceptively simple habit, creating a micropause between a stimulus and your reaction. Most emotional damage occurs in automatic, split-second explosions. The next time you feel a powerful surge of frustration or anxiety, force yourself to step back and pause for just 3 seconds. That tiny, deliberate window shifts energy away from the reactive brain and gives your rational mind time to catch up and analyze the situation logically. Furthermore, learn to change your internal language. Stop saying "I am angry" or "I am anxious." That fuses your identity with a passing wave. Instead, tell yourself, "I observe anxiety arising within me." This subtle shift creates psychological distance, transforming you from a victim controlled by chaos into an objective observer of your mind. This is the absolute cornerstone of everything we have discussed, and if you take only one single truth from our journey today, let it be this: you must stop relying on motivation to change your life. Motivation is nothing more than a fleeting emotional state, a temporary chemical surge driven by external hype, an inspiring video, or a sudden burst of temporary energy. Some days you will wake up feeling driven and completely unstoppable, and other days you will wake up feeling heavy, doubtful, and totally uninspired. If your daily actions, your work ethic, and your personal growth depend entirely on whether you feel like doing the work, your life will remain completely fractured and inconsistent. And inconsistency is the absolute death of neural adaptation. Your brain does not change its physical architecture based on intense, rare bursts of effort. It changes through relentless, unyielding repetition. Small, repeated daily actions matter infinitely more than massive, sporadic efforts. Reading 10 pages every single day will completely transform your cognitive framework, while reading 100 pages once a month accomplishes virtually nothing. Exercising for 20 minutes daily builds a resilient mind, while one extreme workout followed by 2 weeks of complete inactivity just shocks your system. When you show up and execute regardless of your mood, you stop viewing the action as a forced chore and start viewing it as a core part of your identity. Your brain automates the behavior because it has carved a deep neural pathway for it. The individuals who build exceptional discipline are not superhuman, they have simply trained themselves to keep showing up long after the initial wave of motivation has vanished. They built a system of daily patterns that reshapes their mind through raw repetition. At the end of the day, all of these habits connect to form a single, beautiful system of mental ownership. Your brain is a highly dynamic organ that never stops evolving, constantly reshaping its architecture around the specific demands you place upon it. It does not care about your good intentions, your long-term dreams, or your potential, it only responds to your daily execution. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. The final question you must ask yourself as we close this journey is simple but heavy. What is your mind adapting to right now? Is it adapting to shallow distraction, or to deep, uninterrupted focus? Is it adapting to emotional reactivity, or to conscious mastery? You do not need perfect genetics to sharpen your brain, you just need the courage to protect better daily patterns. If you found this perspective valuable and want to continue exploring the real science of human growth, stick around with us. Leave a comment below sharing which habit you are going to test tomorrow, and let us keep showing up together to build a truly resilient, unshakable mind.